What's your name?
daleann.llewellyn.
Now we're going to talk about your T-shirt. What's your T-shirt say?
It says, ask me about endometriosis.
What is endometriosis?
Endometriosis is a disease where the lining of the uterus grows outside of the uterus, and the cells end up on other internal organs, and then when you get your period, these endometrial cells shed and bleed like they would do if they were inside your uterus. So it's like internal bleeding once a month. And the cells can also damage your bowel, perforate it if they, grow for too long.
And why does the body do this? Why would the body sort of attack itself like this?
They're not sure. It could be hereditary. It could be environmental. No one knows what causes it.
So no one knows because it's very rare? Is that the reason?
No, no one knows because no one really cares. It's what it feels like. When I first got diagnosed in 2011, it was 1 in 10 women had endometriosis. Since then, it's come down to 1 in 9 women have endometriosis. But a lot of doctors and researchers believe that it's more likely to be 1 in 7, but women go undiagnosed because painful periods aren't something that doctors really care about. It took me 11 or 12 years to get diagnosed, and I have a very severe case of endometriosis, and it took me that long to get a diagnosis.
So were you hoping in that time that, like, every time you had a period, the pain would eventually fix itself, or was the pain just getting worse every time?
It got worse every single time. When I first got my period, actually before I even started my period, I got period pain once a month. And my mum said that the same kind of thing happened to her. So, no one really...
So people dismiss it because they think you've just got a bad period.
Yeah, you've just got a bad period. And then when I was in high school...
And no one likes talking about periods.
No one likes talking about periods. When I was in high school, I would have to miss a day or two of school every month because I would be bleeding so heavily that I just couldn't cope, and the pain was so severe.
What's the pain like? Is it like a knife pain, or a throbbing pain, or a squeezing?
All of the above. It's really bad inflammation, but it can also be like a really severe stabbing pain and a really bad cramp, like cramping to the point of vomiting because it's so bad. And I remember I was in grade 9 and I had a double lesson of science. So instead of just being 40 minutes, it was 80 minutes. And I had changed my tampon in the break before this lesson, and I could before the first lesson was over, maybe like 30 minutes in, I could feel myself leaking.
Oh my God.
And so I said to the teacher, can I please go to the bathroom? And he said, no, you should have gone on the break. And if I didn't go to the bathroom right then and there, it would have been a murder scene. That would have been...
So what did you do?
Blood everywhere. I grabbed my shit and walked out. I just left. Because he's got no right to tell me whether I can go to the bathroom or not. And I didn't want to say in front of the whole class, like I'm bleeding down to my pants, let me go. So I just walked out.
So did this affect your academic career? I mean, were you interested in science?
No.
Oh.
I fucking hated science. But it did interfere with my university studies as well. Because
what were you studying?
I have a Bachelor of Psychology.
Okay.
And when I was doing that, my periods had gotten so bad by that point that I was missing a week a month, sometimes 2 weeks a month, because if I ovulated, I had cysts all over my ovaries. So every time I ovulated, that would cause even more pain. So two weeks a month, I couldn't go to university. So I barely scraped through with my bachelor. And then when I was finally diagnosed and was getting help, I was studying my postgraduate diploma in secondary education, and I I didn't have to miss all this time at uni, and I went from just getting passes to being HDs, and I got an academic award, and I was like, I didn't know I was this smart, but I think it was. I was like, what the hell? But yeah, I think it was because I had to miss so much stuff.
Yeah. What was the time when you thought, okay, I've got to go get diagnosed, there's something wrong here? Was it just, did you reach a point where the pain was just impossible?
No, I went to the doctor so often when I was growing up, and when I was a teenager, and they thought that it might have been appendicitis. Wasn't appendicitis. Then one doctor told me that it was just ovulation pain and I should have a hot bath. And that was a surgeon that told me that. So I went, oh, okay, I'll do that then. And I only got diagnosed because my partner and I were in a long-distance relationship. He was in Brisbane, I was studying in Townsville. When I finished and I'd graduated and I moved back to Brisbane, I thought, oh, I'll go back on the pill because I'm going to need, some contraceptive help. And when I went to just some random GP in Brisbane, and she asked me the 20 questions that you get asked when you go on the pill: what's your period like, how often, how long is it? And I answered all of her questions, and she looked at me and she goes, there is something seriously wrong here.
Oh, wow.
And sent me for an ultrasound and then to a gynecologist, and the gynecologist looked at my case and went, yeah, okay, we're going to have to operate. The only way to diagnose endometriosis is via laparoscopy surgery, that you can't diagnose it with a scan. It doesn't show up. So she did a laparoscopy and she opened me up and looked at my pelvis and went, I can't do this, and closed me back up without even touching anything because it was so severe. So I had to go to one of the top surgeons in the state or the country, and he did surgery 30 days after my diagnosis, and it was a 7-hour surgery of him just cutting away endometriosis from my insides. It was horrible.
So what does it look like in there? Is it like a cancerous growth on the stuff, or it just sounds bizarre?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It almost kind of looks like bloody pimples on things, and you can see the inflammation even just around the cells. It's like spots of red or black or brown, and then you get cysts that are endometriomas, cysts that just bleed. Yeah.
How did you feel once you realised I have something really significant here?
I bawled my eyes out. I woke up after the first laparoscopy with the first surgeon, and they said, yep, you've definitely got endometriosis. I just broke down and cried and cried and cried because I had been looking for an answer for 12 years. And then I finally got it, and I didn't know what to do.
You knew you weren't crazy.
Yeah, finally. I thought I was
being a silly woman or
Yeah,
anything like they were treating you.
I was told by doctors, it's just your lot in life. You're just going to have painful periods. When I was told that when I was 14. And then they put me on the pill when I was 14 just to try and regulate my period, and it didn't work. I think I tried 10 to 15 different contraceptive pills, and none of them helped my period at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saying too that you lost one boyfriend because he couldn't stand the pain?
Yep, I was with my ex-partner for nearly 14 years, and he was with me before the diagnosis, through the diagnosis, and through the horrible, horrible things that happen afterwards. And by the end of it, I don't blame him for leaving me. It got to be too much. We'd been through so much together. And yeah, I felt so bad for him because he just had to sit there and watch it. It was awful.
So how has it affected your life since then?
I can't work. I can't study. I am now in severe pain all day, every day. I can't have kids.
Why can't you have kids?
Endometriosis can affect fertility because it just does. And my ex and I went through 2 rounds of IVF. 2 rounds of IVF. We got one viable embryo from that. And after we did the IVF, it was kind of, okay, now I've got to get my health in order so that I can attempt a pregnancy. And I just couldn't. I tried so hard. I have been trying hard for 12 years now to get better, and it's just a never-ending race. It just keeps going. I think I'm getting close to the end, getting close to getting better, and it just, something happens and it gets worse and knocks me back.
And what's it like as a woman when you're realising I can't have children?
Absolutely devastating. When my ex and I broke up, he wouldn't let me use the embryo even if I did get better because he couldn't handle it. So the one chance I had of becoming a mother was taken away from me. That was really, really rough. And I've had 24 surgical procedures for endometriosis.
What are they? Tell me some of the things that they've done. Have you had a hysterectomy or anything?
Yeah, my last surgery was a hysterectomy in 2020.
And that didn't fix it?
No. Hysterectomy isn't a cure. A lot of doctors think that it is. Pregnancy or hysterectomy is the ultimate cure, but it's not. It's not at all. Endometriosis can continue growing even without a uterus. You don't need a uterus to have endometriosis. It's awful.
And they don't know why. Even though 1 in 7 women have it, they still haven't done the studies to find out why.
No, they have no idea what causes it.
No idea.
No idea. It's insane. Some people think that you're born with it, and then, environmental factors make it worse. No one knows. It's awful.
Let's go back to tell about some of these other 20 things that you've had.
So, for the most part, they've been laparoscopy surgeries.
Cleaning you out.
Just doctors going in every 6 months and slicing away the endometriosis growths off of my internal organs. And it had to be every 6 months because it would regrow so quickly. And it was so virulent that my doctor, he felt so bad for me. And he thought, okay, we can do this every 12 months. And then after one surgery, I ended up with a hematoma inside, which is kind of like an internal bleed. I ended up with a fairly large hematoma, and he had to go back in and clean me out, to get rid of the hematoma 3 weeks after the laparoscopy. And there were new endometriosis growths in 3 weeks. And he was horrified, and he said, okay, it's going to have to be every 6 months. And when I heard that, I went home to my ex, and I just broke down on the kitchen floor. I was inconsolable, screaming because it just ruined my life. So the laparoscopies are the main one. I have had kidney surgery because I had endometriosis and endometrial cysts blocking my ureters. So when that happens, obviously the fluid builds up in your kidney, and it's absolutely excruciating. I've also had stents put in my ureters because they had to slice off the endometriosis on my ureters, and to make sure that they didn't burst and I end up again with sepsis. I had to have stents put in. I've had a few laparotomies where they have to open you up. I've had bladder surgery as well, and the hardest surgery that I had was a bowel resection. I had endometriosis growing on my rectum, and what had happened is that it had basically scarred my rectum over onto itself. So it was like this, and in the little joint there was endometriosis and scar tissue and everything in there. And if I had let it keep growing, it would have perforated my bowel. Jeez. And quite possibly perforated my vaginal wall as well. So I would have ended up with a fistula. And that just, I'm very lucky that I had bowel surgery at the time. I had a gynecologist who knew what was happening, and he organised a bowel surgery. Unfortunately, I had most of my rectum removed because they had to take it out. 6 days after that surgery, my surgeon sent me home, and I said, I haven't had a bowel movement yet. I'm not comfortable going home if I haven't had a bowel movement yet. And he said, no, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. I was at home for less than 8 hours before I started vomiting and a fever spiked. And so I called an ambulance and was rushed back to the hospital. And I had a CT scan, and they found that the anastomosis, the joint from the bits that they'd taken out, was leaking. And so I was leaking stool into my pelvis. And I had 20 minutes notice that I was getting a stoma, an ileostomy. I'd never heard of I didn't know what a stoma was. That's the bag on this. And that's where they pull your intestine out so that it's on the outside of your stomach, and you wear a bag and it just catches your stool, basically. He came in.
How old were you then?
Oh God, that was 2014, so 26, I think. Yeah, 26, 27.
That would have had a profound effect on your life too, wouldn't it?
Huge effect. So he came in and he drew a little spot on my belly, and I was like, what the hell? What is this? And he's like, oh, that's where, you're young, you wear low-cut pants and stuff, so I'll put it there. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't wear low-cut pants. I wear clothes there. And as they were wheeling me into surgery, I was crying, begging them to just let me die because I didn't want to go through this. And the nurse was crying because I was so upset and begging them to just let me go. I then woke up from surgery and my mum was in my hospital room. She didn't leave. She slept in my hospital room for days because she didn't want anything else to go wrong. And unfortunately it did go wrong. I ended up with a bowel obstruction. So I had to go back for more surgery. I ended up having 4 surgeries in about 2 weeks. And I was in hospital for 2 months after that, just trying to get on top of the pain and everything. And then I went home and I had this stoma and a bag on my belly, and I had to change what I was wearing because I couldn't wear anything that would sit on the stoma. I refused to let anyone touch me or see me in this state because I basically disassociated for 18 months that I had this stoma. It was awful. And I nearly died a few times getting it. And my mum and my sister and my stepmom and my nana and my partner just did shifts at the hospital, making sure that I wasn't alone because I was just in so much pain and I couldn't advocate for myself because I couldn't move. I had drains coming out of everywhere. It was awful. And I was so depressed.
How did you get through it?
I have no idea. It was basically 1 minute at a time. my doctor started me on a new medication, and it was called gabapentin. And rather than weaning me onto it, he started me at 1,800 milligrams a day. And I started hallucinating. And I was so suicidal that if I had been at home, there is no doubt that I would have attempted suicide. And I kept, every time my partner came in to see me after work, I would just be in his arms crying, saying, please take me home, please take me home. I just want to die, please take me home. And he was like, this isn't you. Like, you've never felt this way. And so he started doing his own research, and he said, I think this drug that you're taking is causing some issues.
Yeah.
And I went to my doctor and I spoke to him about it, and he said, I feel like a basket case, I'm not myself. And he said, no, you're just depressed because you've been through so much. And I'm like, no, I've got a pretty high emotional intelligence. Like, I don't think that's what's going on. So I started refusing to take the medication. I didn't know that you could do that, but you can. You can refuse to take the meds. And the nurses said, okay. So I weaned myself down, and within 3 days, I was completely better.
Oh, wow.
I stopped hallucinating bugs on my hospital walls,
Yeah.
and I wasn't suicidal. And I was like, okay, never taking that medication again. Yeah, that was horrible. And then I had this stoma for 18 months, and every time I left the house, it felt like I would end up with a leak. So the bag would shift, and all of a sudden I would have shit leaking down my leg in public. And it was awful. I fucking hated it. I would go home, every time I had a leak, I would go home, stand in the shower and just cry. And I'm not a huge crier, but I did cry a lot those 18 months. It was awful, absolutely awful.
But they got rid of it now? Now they...
Yeah, yeah, they got rid of the diseased part of the bowel, but now I've got to deal with scar tissue. That's one of the side effects of having so many surgeries, is that my insides now are covered in scar tissue.
Yeah.
And there's nothing they can do for that.
Yeah.
It's awful. So I have scar tissue around where they reversed my stoma. So if I eat too much fibre and that's pushing past that scar, it feels like I've got just tearing my intestines apart. And then I've also got that down at my rectum where the new joint is, and that feels like it's tearing apart as well. So I'm glad I had it done, but I have had so many issues since then. It's just non-stop. I haven't been able to work since 2014. Yeah.
Why do you see yourself going forward then? Because you're still in a lot of pain now, aren't you?
Yeah, I now suffer chronic pain. I'm on strong opiate medication to manage that, and at the moment I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. I don't know how to explain it. I'm basically just existing from day to day, and it's so depressing. It's awful, but there's nothing I can do. That they can't operate again because I've had so many surgeries, and everything I do in life just causes me more pain. It's a horrible, horrible disease. You know, people think, oh, just get pregnant, that'll fix it. Okay, I tried getting pregnant. I tried so hard and got nowhere. So eventually you just stop trying. What's the point?
How about a social life? Do you manage to keep friends or anything like this? Or is it too hard for them? Do they leave?
I have some amazing, amazing friends. They don't leave, but they stop trying.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. You know, if I have to cancel 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't want to try and catch up with someone either. A lot of my friendships are now through social media because I don't have to go anywhere to talk to people. And I've actually met a lot of absolutely amazing and incredible people through social media, through endometriosis. Like the online community is just incredible.
And are you meeting other people in your situation?
Yeah, there are so many women out there.
Really?
Yes, it is horrible. It's just unbelievable how common it is, but how no one speaks about it. No one
Yeah.
talks about it because it's gross, it's periods, No one wants to talk about that. But I stopped caring about that a long time ago. That, people say TMI, too much information. I don't give a shit. I'll talk about bowel movements. I'll talk about periods. I'll talk about anything.
I think it's really healthy,
Yeah.
to be absolutely brutally honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it's 1 in 7 women face this. And, well, they're making, a big pharma's making huge profits at the
Yeah.
moment. So surely this is the point of it. It's okay, well, why don't we do some studies on this?
Yeah. I believe the government has just recently allocated some money towards endometriosis research. Thank God. That took a lot of work and a lot of petitioning for the government to help, because at the moment the only treatment is put them on the pill or do a hysterectomy or get them pregnant.
Or opiates.
Yeah, or opiates. And they're not solutions.
No.
There's a stopgap. I take...
What's your relationship like with opiates? Because it must be incredible to have something take away the pain,
Yeah.
but at the same time too, they're highly addictive.
Very addictive. I've been on opiates now for, 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you said they treat you like a junkie.
Oh, yeah, big time. If I need to go to the emergency department, I will put it off for as long as I can. If I can get through it at home, I will do it at home. Even if it's severe, I will stay at home, because I go to the hospital and, yeah, they look at what I take every day and they're like, oh my God, how are you functioning? And it's like, well, you should try and see me function without them. And unfortunately, with opiates, the more you take, the higher the tolerance.
Yeah.
So the more you take, the more you need to take.
Yeah.
And when I was living in Brisbane, if I had to take more than, say, 1 or 2 endone at a time, which are 5 milligrams, if I had to take more than that, more than maybe 10 milligrams of endone, I would go into hospital, or my pain specialist I'd see my pain specialist and she would admit me for a ketamine infusion. And what happens with the ketamine infusion is you stay in hospital for 2 weeks, and you're just on a ketamine infusion all day, all night. And what that does is it resets your opiate tolerance. So you can be on a ketamine infusion and completely drop your opiates down. Are you okay?
No, I'm just tired.
Oh, okay. You can completely drop your opiates down and not suffer withdrawals.
Okay.
So, because trying to...
So withdrawals is another thing you face?
Yeah, all the time. Especially now that I moved to Townsville 5 years ago. And since I've been here, I have had no help from specialists at all. Just last week, I was in the ED because I was having an acute pain flare. I was having rectal bleeding and severe pain. And they were like, what do you normally do when you're in this kind of pain? I said, well, in Brisbane, they'd admit me, give me a shit ton of pain relief to get on top of it, and then I would, my pain specialist would take care of all of that. A day or two, get on top of the pain, send me home, and I'd be completely fine. Here, I go to the ED, they give me 1 5 milligram endone, which does nothing because I take 20 milligrams at a time.
Wow.
Which is the highest dose that you can take. And sometimes I double that up and take 40 milligrams at a time, because the pain is so bad and I've got such a high tolerance to opiates that I have to take that much. And it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
But so is living in severe pain. I don't eat, I don't sleep.
It's like a catch-22.
Yeah.
You don't sleep either?
When I'm in pain, no, I don't sleep. It's awful. So I suffer chronic fatigue as well. Yeah. And since I've been in Townsville, my opiate tolerance has just skyrocketed because I haven't had the pain specialist to step in and give me decent treatment. And I see a pain specialist here, and he hasn't done anything like that.
Yeah.
He's pretty useless.
Now, the other thing you said too was that the suicide rate for women like you is really high.
Yeah.
And you can, I guess they just get to a point they have had enough.
Yep. Especially in America, because surgery over there can cost $25,000 to $50,000.
Wow.
Whereas here, if you go through the public system, it's free.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I have private health cover, and my surgeon would charge a few $100s out of pocket, if that, and I wouldn't have to pay anything for the hospital stay.
Yeah.
And I would get surgery within 2 weeks of seeing my specialist, sort of thing. He would go, okay, I'll fit you in on this day. In America, they've got to wait years and pay so much money. And so for them, suicide's pretty much the only option because you can't take opiates for the rest of your life.
And do you deal with that?
Suicidal.
Yeah, suicidal thoughts?
Suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideations. I've never tried and I never will. I'm very fortunate to have 2 amazing nieces, and I would rather suffer every day than cause them any pain. So I just have to, when I'm feeling really down, like I am at the moment, I just have to remind myself that, they're the most important things in my world.
Do you have a thing like, they think menopause could fix it? If menopause comes along and ends it?
Yeah, I did chemical menopause for 7 or 8 months.
That sounds like not fun at all.
It's horrible. So you go from being normal to having nothing, no hormones whatsoever, and it's just, it's the worst. I can remember in winter in Brisbane, I was walking around Coles with my partner, and I got a hot flush, and it was so bad I started stripping off my clothes because it was winter, and I ran down into the freezer section because the hot flushes had been so bad that they would make me sick and I'd get dizzy, and that was pretty rough. I was just getting naked in Coles. And I've been in surgical menopause for years now.
Wow.
And it's the pits. It sucks. When we had flooding in Townsville the first year I moved back here, our power went out, and I came upstairs to sleep in my mum's house because downstairs was flooded, and we had no power, and I was menopausal, and it was the middle of summer, and I was just the angriest person in the world. My mum was so afraid of me. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that'd be the hard thing, see, because people closest to you
Oh.
would probably get the brunt of it.
Big time.
Because they know they're in it. They get the shrapnel of your pain.
Oh, definitely. I have the most incredible family. I'm so lucky to have the family that I have. Like at the moment, I'm dealing with opiate issues, being treated like a drug seeker, but I've got drug seeker behaviours because if I'm in pain, I need to take the drugs. And if I can't get the drugs, then, I've got to call another doctor to try and get it. And
so these doctors are reluctant to hand it out.
Yeah, big time. So they don't like giving it to me. I see one doctor, and she, gives me what I need. But if I'm having a pain flare and I need extra, I can't go to any other doctor because they see what I'm on and they go, oh no, I'm not giving you anything, you're an addict.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's because I've been put in a situation where I have no other option, and that's really hard, and my dad's trying to help me get through that and try and get my opiate tolerance way back down. So I'm seeing meeting a new pain specialist in Brisbane next week.
And have you tried any other natural things like marijuana and other things like that?
Marijuana is actually really helpful. I've tried the CBD and the THC oils, and they're really good, but they are so expensive. It's $500-$600 for 2 bottles. 2 bottles that are this big. Yeah, it's shit. I've tried acupuncture. It helps, but it's so expensive.
Really?
Yeah, it's insane. Physiotherapy, that helps. Osteopathy is amazing.
What's that?
I have an osteopath in Brisbane who was incredible. Osteopaths are kind of a mix between a physio and a chiropractor.
Okay.
So they massage and get the muscles working how they should do, but they can also crack like a chiropractor, whereas physios don't really do that. Osteopaths can help realign everything. And my osteopath in Brisbane was really good with my adhesions. She would do, like, as soon as I could handle it after surgery, I'd go and see her, and she would start massaging in between all my organs to try and stretch that scar tissue out. And it worked really well. But I haven't been able to find that in Townsville. I feel like I've moved back to the Stone Ages since I've been here because the treatment is so poor. It's so shit. I hate living here.
I have to ask some questions, and I don't want to insult you because you probably have tried all these things, but these are people will be watching and asking.
Definitely.
Have you tried something like the carnivore diet and removing wheat and everything? Have you tried? Not that I'm a doctor, I'm just...
When I was living in Brisbane, I had an amazing GP. He was like an integrative GP. And he gave me like a low allergy diet. And I did that for 6 months. And I lost weight, and that was great. But it did absolutely nothing to the endometriosis and the impact that the endometriosis was having. Didn't help my pain, didn't help the regrowth, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I lost weight, and that was great. But unfortunately, it didn't help. So I now have the mindset of, well, if I'm going to suffer, I may as well eat what I want.
That's right.
May as well eat the chocolate.
That's right. I'm just wondering if there's like, if you've gone like, okay, let's take sugar out of the diet for the month and see what happens. Let's take this and just, because you've got to, honestly, it seems to me now you're at a point where it's up to you.
Yeah.
Because society's gone too hard.
Yeah.
But you're still here.
Yeah, I know. I've still got to work, like, still have to work on trying to get better.
Yeah.
My new boyfriend, I was at his house and I would have a Pepsi, and I don't normally drink soft drink at all. And he would notice that if I had a Pepsi at his house, I'd be in too much pain the next day to
so sugar is a big thing.
So sugar is a big thing.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. I was like, oh, yeah. And he picked that up all on his own. He's amazing. He'd never heard of endometriosis.
And what's his PhD in?
Yeah, like computer science. Yeah, he's incredible. And yeah, so low
How
sugar.
about Barbara O'Neill? Have you know her at all?
No.
Okay, well, I'll show you her in a sec.
No sugar. I struggle with red meat. If I eat red meat, it has to be good quality red meat, and I can only do it, every now and then.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Since I had my stoma, I can't eat anything high fat.
Yeah.
It makes me quite sick.
Wow.
So I love salmon, and I can't eat it because I get really sick when I eat it, which sucks because it's so yum. And I haven't noticed a difference. I didn't notice a difference when I went gluten-free because this low allergy diet that the doctor had me on was like no sugar, no gluten, no wheat, no fun. And yeah, it didn't help. So.
Can I ask you one thing? Why did you choose psychology?
I worked, when I first left high school, I went to uni in Brisbane and I attended for 2 weeks and went, yeah, it's not really for me. So I dropped out and I went and got a job, and I was working at a psychology clinic, at a child psychology clinic, and I was like, I want to do what you guys do. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
And so I did. I quit my job, I moved home and went.
So you're qualified at it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't have my master's, so I can't work as a practicing psychologist.
Oh, okay.
Although I have recently been seeing advertisements for a graduate diploma in psychology.
Yeah.
So depending how long, because I graduated in 2010, not a long time ago. Depending, I may have to do like a bridging course to get into that. But it's something that I would like to aim to get to, but I've got a lot of stuff to do before then. Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Not that I can think of at the moment. Contact me if you need help.
Yeah, well, and we'll put your email in the thing.
Yep.
But you do interact with it. Is there an organisation or something?
Endometriosis Australia is incredible. They have a Facebook page. A lot of information goes up there. A lot of women who need help post on there. I did a blog article for them when I had my stoma, what it was like living with a stoma, because I thought I was the only person in the world that had a stoma because of endometriosis. I wasn't.
Oh my God.
Hundreds of women contacted me and said, I know exactly what you're going through. And I was like, why did I not know this? I needed help when I had this stoma, and I did this article once I'd had it reversed, and yeah. So I'm pretty active on Instagram with like people contact me and say, oh, do you have any suggestions, or how do I cope with this? And I try and help.
Cool. Cool. Okay, great.